What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and Samhain Sauna. It is Samhain, and so we are going to talk about my favorite holiday. So this is Pagan New Year, and even though it's spring in the Southern Hemisphere, I still like to celebrate this the way the Northern Hemisphere does, as a celebration of like ancestors, remembering the dead, that sort of thing, because we are still coming to sort of the dying end of the year. We've only got 2 months left out of the 12. The year is very much in its old age by this point, and I think being able to sort of think back on those that came before you also offers you a chance to think back on the year that was, especially coming into the Christmas season in December, where you're going to want to be celebrating the present, and then in New Year's, obviously, with New Year's resolutions and stuff, looking towards the future. So it sets up this nice sort of 3-month sort of past, present, future to sort of really bookend the whole year, and that's sort of the main reason why I celebrate the holidays, the Sabbats, the way that I do, which is not in accordance to how the seasons progress in the Southern Hemisphere. Anyway, some ways that you can, so depending on your individual path, there are many different ways that you can celebrate Samhain, but typically the focus is on either honouring your ancestors, as is my case, or it's the circle of death and rebirth, which again, also, if you're honouring your ancestors, it's kind of the same sort of thing. And also, like, the whole rebirth thing, it's spring, we've just come out of winter in, well, not just, but you get the idea, like we're sort of coming into that, like, youthful sort of summertime vibe in the Southern Hemisphere, so it's still kind of, like, the themes still kind of fit a little bit, I feel. It's the time of year in the Northern Hemisphere when the gardens and fields are brown and dead, nights are getting longer, there's chill in the air, and winter is looming. That is complete polar opposite down here. Gardens and fields are green and vibrant. The days are getting longer. It's hot as fuck, and summer is around the corner. We're getting ready to put on our, especially with COVID sort of in at least everyone's mind that I've come across, becoming sort of a past memory. We all getting ready to put on our best rave costumes and go have a mad party, you know, like 2022, that's what's up. So it says we may choose to honour our ancestors, celebrating those who have died, and even try to communicate with them. So I will now detail what they've written as the few rituals that you may want to think about trying for a Samhain party, holiday, whichever you want to sort of look at it. And just also remember that they can be adapted for a solo practitioner, as well as for groups of varying sizes. You've just got to put a little bit of planning, a little bit of work into it, and yeah. So the first one obviously is the altar. Nothing to do with any of the Sabbats is like none of the Sabbats will just neglect the altar. The altar is always sort of the first port of call, because it is solo practitioner or large group. It is where the main for lack of a better word, religious element of the holiday will occur. So you can start off by decorating it with symbols of the season, those being symbols of death, the harvest season, and any tools of divination that you wish to use. Obviously, in this sense, wanting to communicate with your ancestors. You can also incorporate some Samhain prayers into your rituals, or perform a ancestor meditation. And like everything in the learned religions link, there's a whole heap of orange underlines, which are all links that you can follow from this one page. Next bit down, plan your ritual festivities with ceremonies that celebrate the harvest's end or honour the ancestors. For me, it's the Honour the Ancestors one. You can also perform a god and goddess ritual for Samhain, or do a ritual that marks the cycle of life and death. If you have any young pagans in your family, there are different ways you can celebrate Samhain with children, including a Samhain cemetery visit. And one of these days I will actually be able to go on a little bit of a road trip and do just that. Go and visit my nan and pop's graves, go and sort of do a little bit of digging into my family tree, see where that takes me. And then finally, if you're involved in your community, consider a ritual to honour the forgotten dead. And that might be as simple as going to a local florist, buying some flowers that are symbolic of remembrance, and then going up to your local cemetery and just placing a flower on the graves that don't look like they've got anyone tending to them anymore. For many pagans, Samhain's a time to do magic that focuses on the spirit world. It is one of the only two Sabbats where it's believed that the veil between the mortal realm and the sort of afterlife, otherworld, is at its thinnest. So magic is believed to be especially potent on these, on Samhain, and on, I think Beltane's the opposite. So yeah, it's a time to do magic that focuses on the spirit world. To learn how to properly conduct a seance, or how to do some divination workings, or if you just want to figure out what your spirit guide's really up to, they're all things that you can find in this little section. If you're thinking of holding a seance or what's known as a dumb supper, you'll want to be sure that you read about the different types of spirit guides and how to find yours. All of those are links: holding a seance, the dumb supper, spirit guides, how to find yours. All links there. If you find yourself wondering about whether your spirit guide is something else entirely, you'll need to know how to get rid of unwanted entities. Can happen. Pagans have a view of death and the afterlife that's a little different than our non-pagan friends. We don't believe in a heaven and a hell. It's all just the one place. You know, you can call it the hereafter. Most pagans like to call it the Summerlands. You could just simply refer to it as the other world, the spirit realm, or whatever. But it's just the one place that we all go after death, to live out our immortal, incorporeal lives. Divination with the spirit world is a popular magical activity around Samhain, so you might want to try using a scrying mirror, which I have a scrying mirror, or a Ouija board. If you're going to do that latter one, take some notes from the story time that I did on the subject. treat it properly, and please do not try using it in some place that is apparently haunted or where you would expect to find spirits, like a cemetery. You are not gonna... The whole idea is that you are inviting them into your sacred space, and therefore it's only the ones that you're inviting in. If you go out and you try doing it where you're like, we're bound to catch something, sure, not necessarily the something you want, though. That's just part of taking care of your board. Please be careful. And then last but not least, familiarise yourself with some of the sacred plants of the Samhain Sabbath. If you're interested in learning about some of the traditions behind the celebration, and finding out why Samhain's so important, or why black cats are considered unlucky, or how trick-or-treating became so popular, this is also all part of the history of Samhain. It has a rich history going back a long time, since the season of Caoimh the Hag in Scottish folklore, and a time when many gods and goddesses of death in the underworld are recognised. Sorry, this is the season of, rather. However, keep in mind that Samhain is the name of a holiday and not a Celtic death god. It's not. Celtic death gods are going to be Morrigan or Aed or... yeah. I'm not sure if Lugh is one, or Nuada. I know that Lugh's a god of the arts. He's known as the many skilled one, but he does also have a spear that doesn't miss. I don't know if that makes him more of a god of victory and like a war god, or if that makes him a death god. But anyway, I think being an arts god, he's more of a war god. You can learn about bat magic and any legends pertaining to them, as well as some of the spooky traditions surrounding black cats, jack-o'-lanterns, the practice of trick-or-treating. You can also learn about spider magic, which is quite prevalent around Samhain, and you may also notice a lot of owl activity outside. Because this is a time when many of us honour our dead, it's a good time to think about how we take care of those we've crossed over, and how many pagan societies have venerated their ancestors. Ancestor veneration is kind of core to how I particularly practice. You can also, if you want to, you can brush up on your Samhain superstitions, and maybe we're going to list here of some spooky poems if you want, just in case things go bump in the night. If you like vampire stories, while they're not part of paganism or Wicca, they definitely seem to be popular this time of year. I love how they say it's not necessarily part of paganism or Wicca, but the Abatark is a Celtic mythological creature that is widely speculated to be the actual inspiration behind Dracula, with Bram Stoker himself being Irish. So he might have just decided that the time period for Vlad the Impaler kind of fit what he wanted, and sort of how old he wanted his vampire to be. And then obviously knowing that he had the name of like, being like the spawn of the devil was sort of like one of his titles. And also being impaled on a wooden stick being a way to kill him, being just very ironic of the fact that that's exactly what Vlad did. But there is a vampire in Celtic mythology, so there you go. As Samhain approaches, you can decorate your home and keep your kids entertained as well, if you have them, with a number of easy craft projects. You can start celebrating a bit early, with these fun and simple ideas that honour the festival harvest and the cycle of life and death. It doesn't really actually specifically tell you this, but obviously pumpkin carving is going to be one of them, because that's a symbol, it's a symbol of the harvest, and then you're turning it essentially into a skull that a light's going to shine out of to be sort of lighting the way for the ancestors to sort of be able to find their way to you. And then of course, no festival, no Sabbat is complete without a bomb-ass menu, and you bet this one has one. At Samhain, you celebrate foods that celebrate the final harvest and the death of the fields by making soul cakes, soup, pumpkin spice cheesecake, baked apples, and even something called ghost poop. I might have to look that up, because that's not linked. Let's find out what that is. What it look like. Right. White chocolate popcorn. Got it. I suppose once you make popcorn and then it's a melted white chocolate, it kind of looks like ghost poop, as opposed to using milk or dark chocolate to make it look like, okay, I get that. Alright, that follows. Yeah. Now, I think they've updated this since last time I was on here, but at the moment they've got this orange bar at the top, which when you press the button, brings up this little list, and each of these here is also a completely separate link. So you've got, like, you can go to a page that's just on the history, one that's just on the rituals and ceremonies, one that just talks about the folklore and the Sabbats, a whole one here just for the prayers, honoring ancestors, recipes, craft projects, setting up your altar. It's all here. It's awesome. So yeah, I will leave this link to just this one page in the description. That's what that place is called. I will leave the link in the description below, so you can go and check that out. Let me know how you celebrate Samhain in the comments below. If you live in the southern hemisphere, I know that this is sort of 6 months late or 6 months in advance, depending on how you look at it. Same question though, how do you celebrate Samhain? And yeah, if you're new here, please, I've completely forgot how this whole end goes. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. That's what we want you to do first, and then hit the notification bell as well, so you can be notified when I upload new videos. If you enjoyed this one, please give it a big old thumbs up to let me know that you want to see sort of more content like this. And yeah, until next time guys, keep your head screwed on.